thank you, Bryn, and everybody for coming. I was actually very humbled to be invited by Bryn and Elizabeth to be here. I've long admired the work that many of you know of Elizabeth, and it's a pleasure to share that space. And of course, many of you may not know, Bryn was a constituent of mine for a while, and her contributions when I was a councillor and an MLA, as well as those of her predecessor, John Percy, who should probably mention, to the debate on environmental energy and planning issues, was really incredibly important. Nova Scotia is failing to meet the economic, employment, and research opportunities that can be taken advantage of in response to climate change planning and energy sector reorganization. Job opportunities in this province are being foregone by not publicly talking about how the Paris Agreement impacts Nova Scotia, residents, and because of that, residents and businesses will see other provinces take opportunities we are poised to take. And that's a sad state of affairs, because in 2007, the PC government of today, in fact, introduced the Environmental Goals and Sustainable Prosperity Act. And that was supported by all political parties unanimously in the legislature. It was a very important moment in our province's history. And that's the kind of all-party support that we need to move our economy forward and tackle the risks of climate change. But it isn't happening. And so residents, businesses, municipalities are being left to go it alone, and such are spending considerably to address environmental energy issues with no cohesive strategy across this province. EXPA was amended a couple of years ago to require that the province produce a dedicated green economy strategy by the end of 2014. It is now 2016, and that strategy has neither been produced nor implemented. As a result, we're missing out on the creation of export and employment opportunities in this province, and it's an opportunity to bring investment into Nova Scotia. And given the opportunities and capacity we have in this province, it makes no sense that government would abdicate its responsibilities under law and not have this strategy in place. I was energy minister at one time, and I brought forth legislation which required this province to have a comprehensive electricity plan. And I traveled across the province meeting with everyday Nova Scotians and talking about how we could reimagine our electricity sector and investments and jobs. But after significant time and effort by citizens across this province, we were left with a bill from the government that did one thing. It put an artificial rate freeze in place and didn't address any of the ideas and solutions that people had to really change how we think about energy in this province. All that bill did, and all the response did, was protect the status quo. And that's easily one of my greatest disappointments from my time, that to see the work that I did with Nova Scotians across turn into just a bill after I left that was simply a rate freeze. Nova Scotia has also taken no steps to work publicly with citizens to address our requirements and our obligations under the Paris Agreement. You know, the federal government has agreed to this. Every province in Canada will have to address this. And I've discussed in the past few months the opportunities that exist from that agreement with business owners across the province, and they're excited about the opportunities. Municipalities are excited, but we've heard nothing. And many have come to me saying that their opportunities represent pipe dreams unless the government gets on board. There are opportunities that we will benefit from. And so that whole understanding of EXPA is about mixing the economy and environment and having both succeed. And the Premier of this province is dead wrong when he suggests that Nova Scotia has already done enough to reach the targets in that agreement. When I was Environment Minister, I was briefed in the lead up to Paris about how Nova Scotia was only dancing around the possibility of hitting a 2-degree target, and that was on the basis of there being no significant economic growth in this province. So think about that for a second. Stall the economy, and we might make the 2-degree mark. I don't think anybody wants to just meet the 2-degree mark. We're now committed to 1.5, but more important, none of us want to see the economy stall. We can do them both. And it appears that the entire strategy here to meet the targets is based on the economy staying stagnant, and that's not good enough for any Nova Scotian. So on Monday in the legislature, I will introduce a bill entitled the Maximization of Economic Benefits from the Paris Agreement. It will amend both the Environmental Goals and Sustainable Prosperity Act and the Public Utilities Act. The bill will require a number of things. It will require that the government by July 1st publish targets that Nova Scotia will be required to meet in all sectors to meet the requirements under the Paris Agreement. The bill will also require that the province outline not only the costs associated with doing it, which everybody talks about, but also what the savings and financial opportunities will be for the province, so we can see both sides of that equation. The bill will also require that the province outline an economic strategy for employment by Nova Scotians in the green economy, something which should have been done under EXPO already by 2014, but which is ignored. And finally, it will do one more thing. It will amend the Public Utilities Act to require Nova Scotia Power publish a list every year of all of its generation assets, including their value and what the end of service date will be. Nova Scotia Power and the federal government have already said that coal plants have to close over time in this province. Nova Scotians deserve to know what that schedule is so that we can all have our say on that, and this will require that. Nova Scotia is at particular threat of some of the concerns around climate change. I had meetings just a few months ago with the United Nations in New York where they pointed out some of the key risks that Nova Scotia faces. We need to address climate change and we need to address the economy in this province. And we can do it, but we need to do it all together